Hello Steelers, and welcome to this game of Through the Mud and the Blood, the Two Fat Lardies large-ish skirmish game for the First World War. I've played this quite a few times on the channel. I've not played it for a long time, but I want to come back to it and basically just show you a different style of First World War wargaming where there are no trenches on this particular table. The scenario that I'm playing is from the Stout Hearts and Iron Troopers book, which I got a new copy of just the other day in the post. This is one I got printed at Docs Direct. I have had this for a long time, or a copy of it, but mine felt a bit, so I just thought I'd replace it. And I'm actually playing the scenario number 15, which is called Holding Back the Tide. This is set during the Cambrai offensive, the British Cambrai offensive, but it is actually a German counter-attack during that time. And it's also when Captain Robert McGee got a VC for the action, and that's the one that we're playing. What I'll do is I shall read it out to you, or some parts of this at least, and then we can go from there. Actually, no, I won't read it out to you because it's pretty long. But what I'll say here is basically on the morning of the 30th of November, Robert McGee, Captain Robert McGee of the 86th Brigade Staff Captain, was busy supervising the grenade and ammunition store in the village of St. Le Rouvert, where a commotion drew him from his duties. Supposedly safely in the rear, Captain McGee saw a body of German troops moving through the southern edge of the village. Were they to take the footbridge that crossed the canal, which is over here, the whole of the brigade would be trapped on the northern side without supplies, and disaster loomed. Captain McGee was not your average staff officer. At 43, he was a veteran of 21 years of service, having joined the army as a private soldier and only been commissioned due to the necessities of the war. It's indicative that Guy's personal weapon of choice was a heavy wooden stave topped with a cavalry lance head. This was a man of action, and an action he took. With only a dozen signallers and orderlies at hand, Guy sent a runner to give warning and then began building an impromptu barricade in the street from household furniture. Setting up a Lewis gun, he made ready to stand his ground and hold back the tide of German stormtroopers. Confident in their success, the Germans advanced straight up the main street to be met with a hail of fire from Guy and the Lewis gun, which sent them scattering. Two Germans worked their round behind Guy, but he dispatched one with his lance head before the other was shot by one of the signallers. Then a party of 40 men from the Guernsey Light Infantry arrived from across the footbridge, and Guy, thus strengthened, set about improving his defences before launching an attack at the head of a party of bombers, driving back the shocked Germans, then building a second barricade to consolidate his gains. It must have been with some relief that Guy now saw two companies of British infantry arrive to truly ensure that the bridge was safe. However, at this point the Germans gave up their attempt to seize the bridge as a bad job, bypassing the strong position in search of an easier target. But they did leave a machine gun to keep the British locked in the village. And naturally, Guy was not having this, and with one other man assaulted the HMG, a pistol in both hands, killing the crew. Unsurprisingly, Guy was awarded the Victoria Cross for his heroism. His actions went a long way to saving the entire British brigade that day. So pretty important action on the part of Robert McGee, but it's right down at skirmish level, so it's perfect for this kind of thing with Through the Mud and the Blood. I'm going to be playing this as is, the rules basically as written, or as far as I can remember them. I think with Through the Mud and the Blood you probably need to put in something like a bit of a force morale or something. I'm going to do a review of Through the Mud and the Blood. I'll talk more about that in the review. I'm also going to do a review of Stout Hearts and Iron Troopers as well, and I will talk more about that. Whether those reviews have actually come out by the time this video comes out, I don't know because of my schedules, but I will do a review of both of them and I'll talk about them. If I've done the review already, I'll put a link in the description. Once I've done the review, I'll also put a link in the description, so if you're watching this in the future, then you'll see what I mean. But I'll talk more about that, so I'm just going to play Through the Mud and Blood as is. On what is actually a very small table. It's only a 4 foot by 3 foot table, so this is actually perfect for a club game, or people with only a small spot, a small dining room. There isn't a great deal of scenery here. I've got quite a lot of buildings on here, but you could quite easily cut this down to rubble or ruins rather than the full buildings that I've got. What I'll do is, anyway, I'll take you through the table. I'll show you the forces that are involved in this. We'll talk a little bit more about what's going to happen in the scenario itself, and we'll crack on from there. So here on the edge of the table I've got my British forces. So this is Robert McGee himself with his 10 men, including a Lewis gun. So they've got 9 men and a Lewis, 9 rifles and a Lewis. He's a status 4. I don't have a card for McGee, so unfortunately Captain Edward Westbury is standing in for him in this particular game. So that card will be added once he appears on the table. I'll show you the cards in a second what else we've got. We've also got as well potential reinforcements coming in. These will come in when the blank card, potentially will come in when the blank card is drawn. The Germans have got more chance of them getting reinforcements. The blank card will go into the deck when the British fire for the first time. But we've got, just to show you from the supports they've got the 20 Guernsey light infantry. There's quite a lot of them here. So we've got, excuse me, we've got 10 rifles. Sorry, no, these are 10 bombers, 10 rifles, 2 corporals, and again I've got corporals cards ready to go in there with their blinds as well. And we've also got 8 men armed with a Lewis gun, 1 with a Lewis gun, and also 10 rifles as well. And again, 2 corporals with those as well. They're both status 1s. All the corporals are status 1s, so they're quite low. But Robert McGee himself is a status 4 leader, so he's quite high up. Just while we're over this side, I'll just show you, first of all, the deck is going to be British blinds, time for a snifter, Sturmabteilung vor, and German blinds. However, we also have as well in here, we've got German status 1, 2 German status 1 cards, a status 2 command initiative cards, that is, so there's 3 German. The British have got status 2 command initiative, a status 1 command initiative, and they've also got heroic British leader and dynamic British commander as well. The heroic British leader, when that comes out, they can hold on to it and then use it in a particularly heroic style. So this is probably what Guy is going to do at some point. And then, as I say, we've also got the blank card as well, which when the British fire on the first time, that will go into the deck as well. So they're not on the table yet. They're going to be on blinds when they start, and there's only the British that will be on the table. Guy and his men will be on the table within 12 inches of the bridge. But I'll show you that in a second once I've shown you the German forces. And meanwhile over here with the Germans, these are the initial forces. We've got 3 groups here, each one with 8 bombers, one with 8 riflemen, and then another one with 8 bombers as well. These are led by, again, I've got different names because I've got different cards for the guys, but this is meant to be Officer Stelvelvet, I can't even pronounce that, Otto Liebermann. He's a status 3. Lothar Voller is standing in for him in ours. We also have Gefreiter Wilhelm Rausch, or Willy Rausch, and this is Obergefreiter Rolf Unger. This is our status 2. Then we also have the group 3, which is Gefreiter Ernest Holbrich, or in our game Johann Kleist, and this is 8 bombers there. We also have as well German supports. These could potentially arrive at any point once that blank card is drawn. The way we do it is basically every time the card is drawn, the blank card, we roll the dice. 1 to a 4 the Germans get reinforcements, or 5 to a 6 the British get reinforcements, and then we roll for those to see which they are, and they're not duplicated, so you could potentially get them. Over here we have 10 riflemen with a Gefreiter with a status 1. I've actually just realised that I've given these a 2, 1 less. Sorry, there's another Gefreiter with a status 2 with 8 bombers as well. Sorry, this is the guy with the 8 bombers, Fritz Bergmann here, and then Hans Fassbinder. I'll just swap that out because he is meant to be a status 2, not a status 1. I misread that. But we also have as well for the Germans a Maxim 08 heavy machine gun with 5 crew as well. So as he says, we roll for these if they come in as reinforcements, and then if they've already arrived they get ignored, so it's kind of, he just passes over. So that's the German forces. Like I said, I'm just going to swap out that card for Fritz Bergmann for another German officer with a status 2, and we'll get this game, I'll show you the table and we'll get the game started. So this is our table. Looking from the British positions, there is a collapsed tank in the canal here, which was there. This is from an earlier attack. The tank had gone in and has collapsed, and it's a famous photograph. If I remember, I'll put it on the screen at the moment. But there's also a little wooden bridge as well, little pontoon bridge crossing the canal, just where the British are able to actually get across. Otherwise, this is actually impassable, the river, for both sides. The Germans have got to capture this pontoon bridge to win the game or clear the village completely, and the British have just got to stop them. So we've got the main road coming all the way down here. This is where the Germans are going to be coming in from. And this is their deployment point to this back end here as well. They will be moving at full speed immediately as they come on the table on blinds, and they will be moving down down there because they think there is no. They think that basically the area is open and there is no opposition, so they're just going to be moving as quick as they can to get down until they get shot at, and then they will start operating as they want. So this is a card-driven game. What I'll do is I'll show you some of the cards as we draw some of those, but I'll probably not linger on it too much as the game gets going. I'll just do it off camera, just to to speed things up a little bit, and we'll play out the action as it happens. Okay, so let's get started. Right, so as I said at the start of the game, the deck is just the British blinds, time for a snifter, Sturm to look for, and the German blinds. So we'll just give those a good shuffle and see what we pull out first of all. It's probably going to be time for a snifter, you watch. Let's have a look. So first up, there you go, it's time for a snifter. So that ends that turn. Turn one is over. So we could actually, with that, I could actually deploy on the British blinds because they're on the table at the moment. The German ones aren't. No, I'm not going to. I'm just going to carry on. So next up, so it is actually the British blinds. They are going to deploy on that. Probably should have done this on the time for a snifter. So I know where they're going to deploy, so I'll just turn the next card so we can see what it is, because they're already set up in the place they're going to deploy. So I'll just turn the next card. The next one is the German blinds. So I'll get that set up. I'll show you what's happened on the tabletop. So first of all, this is where the British blinds were, behind this barricade at the back end of the street, and I am just going to everybody is going to go down here behind the barricade to hold that bridge, and including Robert himself. So what we're going to do now is going to put his card into the deck for the next turn, already for when the snifter card has been pulled, and then he will and I'll also put in his dynamic and heroic leader cards as well. I'll put those in along with everything else that needs to go in. So the German blinds have come on. I've actually rolled for them and they didn't get very far, so they've created a bit of a backlog up here. So we've only managed to get 1 and 2 on at the moment, so we still got Cleestoff at the back. I've just checked and the British are on the table here. This is automatic spotting range, 2 foot to there, so to spot them after this they're going to have to need a 5 up or more on 2d6, the British. So if the Germans move forward, which they are going to because they have to, they will soon get spotted, I think. But let's just go back to pulling those cards and see what happens next. So the next card up is, it's time for a snifter. Everything has acted, so nothing can do anything, so we are going to reshuffle. But as I said before, we now have the new cards to add in. So we've got the British Dynamic Leader, British Heroic Leader, Status 1 for the British, Status 2 for the British, and G himself. I don't know if it's G or G, whichever it is. He's in there now, he's in that deck. So give them a good shuffle. And as I say, now the British are going to need to spot. At this point they're going to need to do a spotting roll before they can do anything else. But let's just see what we've got. First one up, aha, it's Guy himself, right, so he's going to activate the unities where they're going to try and spot, and then they're going to fire. If they fire, then the blank card will go in, and it will also hopefully reveal the Germans as well. So we have the British guys, they now have 2 activations, and they are going to try to spot this first German. Now they could use both activations to spot and they get a +1 on their spotting test. They need a 5 or above anyway on 2d6. So they're going to hold and then possibly fire with their second activation. So let's just see what happens. So they need a 5 up. That's a 10, so they have spotted. So we reveal that first one over here, which is, this is Unger. So his card is now going to go into that deck. And as I say, these guys are running fast. These are Unger, I think, has got these are the riflemen, not the bombers. So these are the fronts, and then the British are going to fire at them. So I'll just get that set up again. Okay, we've got the LMG is firing. So that's going to be firing 4 shots because it's only got 1 action dice, and then we've also got 8 men firing, and they've got half an action dice each, so that's 4 shots. We are going to be using Guy's initiatives to add a +1 to 3 of the dice. So I'm going to do that separately. I'm going to add that to the rifles over here. So I'll roll 3 first of all on their own. The reason I'm rolling differently for the LMG is because it might jam if there's more 1s and 6s. We'll start with that first of all. So let's see how many hits we get. We're looking at, this is effective range. So we're looking at 4s up. So first one is, we have 3 hits. That's from the LMG. We didn't get more 1s and 6s, so it hasn't jammed. So let's just put those to one side. 3 hits first of all. Then we've got these rifles. I'm just firing with 1 on its own first of all. This has not got no plus, so this is just 1. So that's missed anyway. And the other one, we now need 3s up on this, because I've got a +1 from him, from Guy. So that's another 3 hits. So that's 6 hits in total on those Germans. So let's roll for those. So they are in the open. 2 up is shock. 5, 6 of the kills, and then however many kills we get, we'll see if it's hit the fighter or not. So let's have a look first of all. So that's a lot of shock, and also 4 kills as well. So 2 shock, 4 kills. Let's see if that hit is on the fighter. We roll the d10 for this. So 1 to a 4, and it is. 5, no it isn't, so it's just 4 of his men, but also 2 shock as well on those Germans, so they've already taken a hammering just from that. So taking off those 4 kills and putting that 2 shock on. That's what happens when you run down streets in the middle of the day. Next card. Sturmabteilung 4. Okay, so the Germans are going to use this with Unger, and he is going to try and get as quick as he can out of harm's way. So we've got our man Unger here. He's going to try to get these guys using the Sturmabteilung, but there's a -2 on each of these dice. So let's just see how far he gets. So that's 1 inch and 3 inch. So that is actually 4 inch. Can he get around that corner at least? Yes, they can just make it around that corner, so I'm just going to get them here into these shell craters. Just get them out of the way so they're not going to take any more hits and damage. And then I think as soon as that blinds card comes up, they're going to get that blinds out of the way as well, I think. Alright, next up we have British Status 2 Command Initiative. I'm going to put that to one side because normally we'd keep that, but we've already used up Robert Guy anyway, so there's no point hanging on to it. So next card up, British Blinds. We currently don't have any. I'm going to keep it in there because the British may get some reinforcements at some point. One thing I forgot to do is the British were fired, so that blank card should actually go into the deck ready to get shuffled in. Also, I forgot as well, we're going to put 1 Command Initiative in as well for Robert Unger, because Rolf Unger, sorry, he's a status 2 actually. Let's put a status 1 and a status 2 in there, because you can use those. And then we've got 1 more. When the next big man comes out, I'll put that in as well. Time for a snifter. So that ends the turn. So now it's anything that hasn't moved, which the only thing that hasn't moved is the German blinds. So I'll get those moved and then we'll shuffle and start again. So this time the Germans have been able to move their blinds a bit more, so they pushed 1 down here, down onto the left flank, and then they've also brought on their 3rd one as well. These are not the reinforcements, remember, these are just their normal blinds. So they've got those on at least at this point, and they are pushing down on those flanks. They've still got this battered unit in the centre though, unfortunately for them. Okay, so first card of the next turn it's a British Status 2 Command Initiative, so we'll just keep that to one side. Next up, German blinds. Okay, we've got 2 German blinds on the table at the moment, so they are both going to make a move. So as you can see here, all they've done is both moved in unison on this. These ones rolled 8 on their movement and they rolled 9. So they're probably going to deploy next turn, I would have thought. I think at this point, just to start to get them close to the action. Next card then is British blinds. There are none on the table, but I'm not taking out because there may be some appearing at some point with the blank card if that comes up. Then we've got a German status 2 command initiative, so we'll just take that out, put it to one side. British heroic leader, okay, so we'll take that out as well, that will be kept to one side. Sturmabteilung vor, okay, so this is a free move for a German unit, and it's only a move. I think, yeah, I'm going to move one of the blinds, I think, further forward. So using that bonus move, this blind has got itself forward just to behind that hedge, and they're just waiting there for now. Then we have status 1 German command initiative. Alright. Rolf Unger and his status 2. So he could actually use these command initiatives if he wants to. So he's going to reduce shock and then get them men to move, I think. So Rolf has just used his command initiative to get his men basically up to here. The reduced shock as well, so they're just at that garden wall at this point. Okay, so now we have, this is Guy himself, so he's also got a command initiative he can use as well. He's got the heroic British leader card out as well if he really wants to use it. But let's just see what they do. Due to the looming threat of this German blind over here, he's actually split off 6 men and sent them that way to go and hold the edge of the fences down there if they can. They can't get across, they can't see the German blind yet to actually try and identify it, but he's trying to get them into a position that at least they can fire at them and spot them. Right, next up, dynamic British commander. So that doesn't do anything. He's already, well, he could activate again, but he can't get anybody else to activate, so just going to leave it to that. And time for a snifter. Okay, that ends the turn, so we bring everything back in and give those a shuffle, and we'll start again. Give these a quick shuffle. Like I said, I'm not going to do this all the way through the game. It might just be a case of just doing it now, and then when the action starts, I'll take it from there. Okay, German status 2 command initiative. British blinds, there are none on the table at the moment, so just get on to one side. Dynamic British commander. Okay, so this is Westbury. He can, well, Guy, he can actually get them to do something again, so he's going to, I think. Just double check the rules. All it is he can move, but he can't do anything. Nobody can move with him, so well, there he is anyway. He's straight up, so he is going to get those troops to move and see if they can spot. So we've got these British troops. They've moved using 1 dice. They've moved 4 inch. They managed to get into position. They are now going to try and spot those Germans on that blind. They need a 7 up basically on 2d6. Let's see if they do it. 8. Yes, they've done it. So they have spotted those Germans. Let's see who it is. It is Kleist. So his card is now going to go into that pile. And him and his men appear here at the edge. Okay, next up we've got a German blinds card. So because these have deployed this turn, they don't operate on their own cards, so they're operating on the blinds card. So all they're going to do is throw their bombs at the British over here. So they're basically throwing one bomb per man. Per action dice, so that's going to be 16 in total. They are firing at it's always at an effective range with bombs, so they need a 4 up. Let's just see. Reducing cover. If they throw 2 more 1s and 6s, they run out of bombs. Doesn't look like they have, so let's get rid of all those misses. Eek, that's not looking good for those British who've just moved into position there. So that's plenty of hits, isn't it? So that is going to be they are in the open because bombs will reduce cover, so they're killing on 5s and 6s. Let's have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 hits. Killing on 5s and 6s. Thankfully the British, there's no big men in there, but let's just see what we've got. There's probably going to be a lot of shock here, I think. Wow, actually not a huge amount. That's 2 kills, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 complete misses, 2 shock, 2 kills. That they got off there incredibly lightly, didn't they? So let me just put those down, put that shock down, and then take those 2 kills off as well. God, that could have gone a lot worse for the British there. Whilst on those blinds, the other thing the Germans did was just deploy these guys over here on their left flank, just ready to push down against the British right flank. So we just pulled the bank card. Let's see what we get. It's the this is reinforcements. 1 to 4 it's Germans. 5 to 6 it's British. Right, 6 that's the British. So let's see what they get. We roll again. 1 to a 3 it's 10 bombers and 10 riflemen. If it's 4 to 6 it's 8 men with a Lewis gun and then 10 riflemen. We got 6. Okay, so that's a rifleman and a Lewis gun as well. So they will come on blinds at the rear of the table. We had the snifter card, and then I've just started going back through the deck again. So we've pulled the German blinds. There are no German blinds. We pulled the British blinds. They have actually deployed the 2 blinds that came on as their supports. So I've just added the 2 corporals into the mix. And then the next card up was the blank card. So once again, it's another chance for reinforcements to arrive. So we roll again to see what we get. 1 to 4, that is a German reinforcements, and let's see what they get. So we have, roll again, a 5 1 fighter status 2 with 8 bombers. So I'll get their blind ready at the other end of the table. Right, okay, in quick succession I just pulled Unter Officer Lothar Woller's card, so he actually moved his units further forward, and then they got the Sturmabteilung vor card, so he's used that again to push them forward and get up against this hedge. They're now threatening Guy on his right flank. Okay, so we just pulled out Johann Klaust, the bomber over here with his men, and they are going to launch an attack again on those poor unfortunate Brits over there. Well, they were fortunate last time. Let's see how much damage they do this time. So he's using all of his action, all of their action points to launch a bomb attack on them and try and wipe them out before those Guernsey light infantry come in. Hitting on 4s up because it's an effective range for grenades, and it's 2 dice per man. So that's quite a number. If we get 2 1s more than 6s, remember, they run out of grenades. But let's just have a look. I don't think we've got, no, we've got 1 2, just check that first of all. 1 2 3 1s, and we've got 2 6s, so they've just got away with that, but it doesn't look like there's a huge amount of hits again. Obviously those German grenades have been sat in the rain for a while because there is only 5 hits, so they could effectively get out of this. So they are killing. They're in the open because it reduces their cover. They're in light cover, so it reduces down to in the open because they're grenades, and that is basically a 2 up. 2 3 4 5 2 3 4 is a shock, 5 6 is a kill. So let's just have a look at that. So we've got, oh, that's worse for them now. So that's 3 kills and 1 shock. So that takes their shock up to 3. And 3 of them are dead. That is somebody who has lost their bottle, so they are broken and they will run away. So that would normally be a bad things happen if we were playing with force morale, but I'm not. Actually, I got that wrong. I've just checked the rules. In the Mud and Blood, they don't break, but they do retreat. Because he's got reasonable morale, he retreats 2 inches for every excess shock he's got. He's got 2 excess shocks, so he's actually retreating 4 inches, which does take him onto that pontoon bridge and away. So he's not actually. They don't break in this. It's not chain of command, but they do fall back. So it's more like sharp practice. The next card is Guy's card, so he's activating this group to fire at the advancing Germans over here, who are currently, this is Woller, I think it is, yes, Lothar Woller, the status 3. So they're opening up with the LMG, with and also 2 rounds of rifle fire as well. I'm also chucking in the British status 1 command initiative to take Guy's initiative up to 5 from 4, so that's he's going to be able to add 4, an extra +1 to 4 of these dice if he wants. So actually I'm just going to separate them out a little because we've got those 2 rifles as well firing. So this is the LMG because I need to know how many ones are rolled as well. So we'll try with the rifles first of all. So this is I'm going to add 2 to the dice here. I'm going to add 1 to each of these dice here. They are all automatically, they are close range anyway, so they're hitting on 3s. So that's going to take it up to 2s and above. So that's 2 hits from the rifles. Then we're going to go with the 2 of the LMGs are also going to get an extra 2 as well on them, an extra 1 on each of those. So that again is 4 more hits, so that's 4 hits in total. Then I'll roll the rest of the LMGs. Now these are hitting this time on a 3 up, and also we're looking out for those 1s as well for any. Okay, so we've got 1-1, but we've got 2 6s in total, so that cancels that out. There's another 2 there, so that's come out as well. And so this is that became a 3 because we added that 1 to it. And so that is actually in total 8 hits across those Germans. They are in light cover, so 6 is the kills and 4-5 is shock. So let's have a look. We've got 1 kill, 2 kills, and we said 4-5 is shock, so they've got 1 shock and 2 kills. Now we're going to test to see if that kill is on Voller, or one of those kills is on Voller. So let me just put the shock on first of all. We said we've got 1 shock, haven't we, there? So just place that with those Germans, so they automatically come under fire straight away. And D10, 1 or a 2 is hit Voller. 6, no it hasn't, so it's 2 of the men, so I'll just take 2 of those off, and that is their first casualties. Okay, we just had a snifter card, and then I pulled out a couple of German status 1 and 2 command initiatives, and then German blinds. So we've got the German blinds moving forward, and that's all they've done over on the right side of the table. But then we got I pulled out Guy's card again, so it's come out pretty quick. So he is getting this group to fire again at Voller, Voller, but he also has ordered the 2 British units at the back to move forward. One of them has managed to push forward with the LMG onto the bridge, and they are now trying to get into a position to be able to fire at those German bombers, or at least do something. And the other ones, unfortunately their bootlaces were untied and they only got a couple of inches forward. However, let's do this firing over here. So we've got the LMG. He is also going to add these extra 1 initiative to one of the rifles that's firing. So we'll do that first of all. This is hitting on a 2 up. Have a look. No, that's missed, but everything else is now hitting on a 3 up. But we're looking for those 1s with the LMG as well. Only 1-1. We've got a 6, so there's not more, so it's tight. So let's just get rid of those misses. And that is 4, 5, 6 hits in total on those Germans again. So let's see what they cause. In light cover, 4-5 shock, 6 is the kill, and we've got 2 kills, got another shock as well. They are taking some hammer. Let's just have a look. So that's 2 there, and those 2 kills is either of those on Voller himself. So look, 3, no it isn't, so it's 2 more of the Germans, German rifle bombers actually. So that's 4 out of that group have been killed now. Oh, it's not looking good for them. So the next card is time for a snifter. Okay, this means anything that hasn't fired may now fire. So we've got a couple of Germans, the bombers, and we've also got the Voller's group as well. So they will fire now, I think. So we've got Voller's group here. They are chucking their bombs. So there's 8 of them in total because there's 4 men chucking bombs each. So let's have a look. Hitting on 4s up. There's no more 1s and 6s, but we've got 2 hits this time. God, these grenades have been terrible in this game. So that's 2 hits on the group there. They're in the open because they're behind a barricade. Light cover becomes no cover because they are bombers. So let's have a look at that. So 2 1s, nothing. Snake eyes, no effect. Okay, over here we've got the German bombers, but they are just out of range for bombing range, 10 inches. They're literally just over it, so they're firing their rifles. These are going to be in the open if they hit. They're firing their rifles, so it's only 8 shots this time. So these are at close range, so 3's up to hit. This is just on the snifter card, remember. So that is 3 misses, 5 hits in total. These are in the open, so they're killing on 5s and 6s, shocking on 3s up. Let's have a look. So 5, 1 kill and 3 shock. So they're going to have to get rid of that. They need a dynamic British leader, I think. And that one kill, is it on their corporal? No, it isn't, so it's just one of their bombers, so we'll get him off. Okay, we had the dynamic British leader card come out, so what I've done is it's a bonus move, and Guy has run across to where Willie Hoxton and his men are, Wilfred Hoxton and his Corporal Willie Hoxton. He's going to come over here and he's going to try to reduce their shock when his card comes up. He's still within command range of his unit anyway, so he can still get them to fire. But when we pulled out Willie Hoxton's card, so that's just come out as well. He's only a status 1, so instead of using his status to reduce the shock, he's getting his group to fire at those Germans across there. They are in light cover, but he's also got an LMG in there as well, so he's using that. So -1 dice for the shock, so taking it off the rifles. Let's just see what happens. We're hitting on 3s up. Everybody is firing in. There's not more 1s than 6s with the LMG, but let's just take out all the misses. So we've got that's quite a number of hits there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So 10 hits in total. These are in light cover though, so they are in 6s are kills, 4, 5 shock. So let's see, we've got 1, 2 shock on them, and then the 1 kill. Is that going to be on their leader? Let's have a look. At 1 it is. 10, no it isn't, so that is just 1 kill off one of their rifles. And how many shock? 2 shock we said, so just put that on there, and then at least the Germans are getting a taste of their own medicine. Okay, we just drawn the time for a snifter card again. It's going through quick. So the Germans over here are firing. The German blinds did move, so I've just moved that blind forward. So these ones over here are firing. There's only 6 men firing because of the kills on the shock, but they are firing at these groups here, so let's just see what happens. They're hitting on 3s up. They're just firing with rifles because they're out of range. So that's 4 hits in total. So that's going to be across those 2 groups there. So let's just see what those hits do. They are in the open, unfortunately for them. So that is 1 kill and 2 shock. So I'm going to put a shock on both of those groups because there's 2 different groups in there. So that's 4 in there, and that gives them 4 as well. I'm going to put that kill on the front group because this guy on his own is more protected, but obviously with bullets cracking over his head, he's going to run away he is now running away 6 inches because there's only him on his own, and he's got 4 shocks, so I think he's out of the game. But we've also got 1 kill, so let's see if it's on Willie Hoxton or Guy himself. 1 and it would be, no, it's a 9, so that's just a kill on one of their rifles, thankfully for them. Okay, we've started a new turn. Another snifter card was pulled. This time Harry Romford, the Corporal Romford, has basically moved his men forward to the canal edge at least, and then Voller has pulled his card, so he's over here in this corner. Status 3, we also had a status 2 card, so he's chucking that in as well. He's reduced their shock from 2 down to 0, so that's 2 of his activations. 3rd activation, he's getting them to fire, and then he's using his 4th activation with that card to then add 1 dice to the firing. These are firing with grenades because these are bombers, so these are hitting on 3s up, so let's just see what happens with that, and then a 2 up on the sorry, no, these are effective range, so 4s up and then a 3 up on the blue dice. So let's just see. 2 1s there, but we've got more 6s than 1s, so we're okay. So we said 3s up on the blue dice, so that's hit, and 4s up on the red dice, so that's 5 hits, and this is on the remains of that, basically that MG team now at the barricades. The 5 hits are now going to be in the open because they're light defence of the barricade, so let's just see what happens to them. So 5s and 6s are kills, so 1 kill and 3 shock on them. So they're not going to lose that LMG, so that's just one of the rifles first of all, but that is 3 shock, so that's causing them a bit of damage. That's the first casualties they've taken, I think. So we got the German blinds, they have deployed over here, so there's another group of bombers now in the village, very close to the barricade, see if they can close that down. But then it's Kleist's turn over here. Gefeit of Kleist he's only a status 1, so he can't reduce their shock because he hasn't got enough, so he's getting them to fire again at the British on the bridge over here. So let's just see what happens with that. They are hitting on 3s up because they're close range, so that's 5 hits in total. Guy is in with those guys, so it potentially is a hit on him. 5s and 6s are kills. That's 2 kills and also 2 shock, so put that shock on there, so that's 6. So we've got those 2 kills. There is also their junior leader as well in there, so let's just roll that d10 and see if it's a hit on a 1 or a 2. No, it's not. It's 2 more of the riflemen, so they are slowly pecking away at them. Let's just have a look, see what we've got now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 men in there, so another shock and they will start falling back. Alright, the Germans have used their Sturmausbildung vor card, and it has basically used these guys who were deployed from their blinds in the last turn into this yard, and they have charged down here. These are bombers and they're attacking the barricade and the machine gunners down here. So I've totted up the dice. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 for the Germans, unlucky for some, and 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 for the British. The British have got a few more just because of the movement that the Germans did. They don't have a big man in there, they don't have much else, so I think this is going to be a German win. They only need to cause 3 casualties, and we're looking for 5s and 6s, 6s causing shock, as always. So let's just roll these and pull everything out that we have. You never know, these things can go either way sometimes. So let's have a look. So the British have caused 1, 2, 3, 4 kills, including 2 shock. The Germans have killed 1, 2 and 3. So they have actually wiped them out, but they've lost. So that's interesting, isn't it? Right, so we've wiped out the British. I'll just get rid of those. The Germans, on the other hand, have lost 4 men. And they've taken 2 shocks. So I'm just going to transfer this shock from here to here. And then they've lost 4 men. One of those might be their big man. So let's roll the dice for him. 1 to 4, he's been hit. 2, yes he has. So let me just get rid of 3 figures first of all. And then we've got to test to see what's happened to that big man. Roll a d6. And it's a 4. A 4 is lightly wounded. So again, if we had force morale, he would be. This would be bad things happen for the Germans. However, they have lost the close combat. They're defeated by 1, so they are immediately thrown back 6 inches facing their enemy. So it's not so bad. They've cleared the position, but they are thrown back 6 inches with their lightly wounded leader. So I'll just get those put back here, because obviously, in the frantic melee, they wouldn't know if they'd killed all the British or not at this point, and you know, they've taken shock and casualties themselves. So that's them thrown back, but at least they have now cleared this barricade, and they can now start to push beyond it from the British right flank. Time for a snifter. The only firing we've got is these guys on the bridge. Romford's mob firing across at Kleist's guys here behind the cover of that hedge. So let's just see. I've reduced them for their shock. They're holding a bit of shock. They are hitting on 3s up because they're firing at close range. So we've got that's a good number of hits, to be honest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 6, 7 hits in total. No stoppages on that LMG, which is good for them. So let's just see how many of those. They're in light cover. 6 is a kill, 4, 5 shock. 3 kills and 1 shock. I'll put the shock on first of all. And then those 3 kills. Is any of those actually on their leader? Let's have a look. 5, no it's not. So it's 3 more riflemen. They have been reduced right down to 4. They're half their number now, but they're only holding 3 shocks, so they're still holding on in their position at least. Alright, straight into the next turn we've got Harry Romford and his men. They are firing at the Germans in the street again, so these are hitting on 3s up. It's close range, but they are in light cover because of the stuff that's in between them. So let's just have a look. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 misses, so that's 6 hits. Light cover, 6 is a kill, 4, 5 is shock. Let's get that rolled. We've got 1 kill and 3 shock on them. So let's put that up to, that goes up to 5. That 1 kill, is it on their leader, their big man? 1 and it is. 9, no it isn't. So another rifleman off. They are teetering on the brink of breaking, unfortunately for them. Time for a snifter has just come up, but just before that, Willie Fleischer managed to get his men, he's reduced their shock, and he managed to get his men into behind that building, out of the way and out of danger for now. So it's just over to a little bit of firing. So we've got the Germans here behind the hedge, firing at the British in the open there, hitting on 3s up. That's 2 hits. Let's see, they're killing on 5s and 6s, and that's just 1 shock. So that takes them up to a 5. And they are getting return fire from that LMG and a rifle because of the shock. So this is all simultaneous, so we're ignoring that extra shock there, but let's just see what happens here. LMG, there are not more 1s than 5s, that's in the blue. That rifle has missed, hitting on 3s for the rest. So that is a better number of hits. So that's 5 hits actually on those Germans. And these are saving on 6s because they're in, killing on 6s, 4-5 shock. So that's 2 more kills on those and another shock. So let's stick that shock on. So that takes them up to 4 on their shock. It's not enough to break them just yet, but they do have those 2 kills, so that might change things. And let's see if one of those is on their leader. 1 or a 2, and it is. No, it isn't, so it's 2 more of their riflemen. So now they are shocked, so they're now going to get forced back 2 inches. So I'm going to push them back to there. They are now away from that hedge. I'm not going to allow them to fire through it because they're no longer at the hedge anymore. But they are slowly getting pushed back by that machine gun on the bridge. All right, Robert Guy's card has come up, and what he's done is he also had the British Heroic Leader card as well. So let me just show you that had come up, and that was already in play. So he had that. He also had a status 2 British Command Initiative as well, so he's added that in as well. And also a dynamic British commander came up as well, so all 3 of his cards, his perfect cards, came up in order. So what he's done is, well, the dynamic British leader doesn't do anything, it just allows him to move. However, so he's added onto his status, so that's given him a status 5. So what he did, he's reduced shock on these guys, 4 shock off them, so it's taken them down to 1. He's then, with his final, his remaining use of card initiative, he's got them to charge into Voller and his men, who are holding this brick wall here, which is just light cover, I'm calling it, because it's broken to bits. It doesn't define what the heroic British leader does, but he says just come up with something suitably heroic. So what I'm doing is I'm chucking this in for Guy to add his fervour of his level of his command. So another 4 dice are going in that, and then that is basically out of the game. So this is like his heroic attack on this German position here. I've totted it up straight away. Let's just have a look. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for the British, and 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 for the Germans. So it's pretty close. So we're looking at 5s and 6s, or kills and shock. Let's just see who comes out of this in any particular manner, if either do. So we're rolling these. So blue British, red German. So British, I can see we've already got quite a few. So let's just have a look. We've got 1, 2, at least just try and take. Well, they've killed 4 of them at least. The Germans, on the other hand, have killed. Oh, they've killed 6. So I think the British might be just wiped out on this. Let's have a look. And we've got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're looking like we've got 6 kills on the British and 4 kills on the Germans. Let's see. So the British, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's actually 6 men in there, so all of them are killed, including Guy himself. So despite his heroic attempt to take back that building, he has been killed along with his men, which is quite a nasty thing. But he will at least get I think he's going to get a VC posthumously. Now the Germans, because we've got more men than survivors, I want to see if Voller is actually killed 1 to 4 and he's part of it. Yes, he is one of the casualties. So let's see what's happened to him. We roll a d6. It's a 2. He is lightly wounded, so it's him and 1 bloke left, and then 3 kills on those there. So that's not great for the Germans again. So that's they have won that combat, but in terms of holding the ground, I think they've pretty much lost it, to be perfectly honest. But that was a reasonably heroic thing for Guy to do, I think. Okay, with the death of Guy in that fight, and also one of his corporals as well, I'm actually going to call this game a fighting draw. I think I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to leave it here, and I'll explain why. The reason is we've still got a large British presence here holding the bridge. There's still 10 men in that section. They are next to the bridge, you know. So they've also got as well. They've got another 20 men still waiting off table to come on from the Guernsey Light Infantry, so they potentially might appear at any point. So that will then mean there's 30 British in total on the table. Over here on the German side, they've only got this section to come on. They've got the MMG, but it doesn't have a leader with it, so that would have to be operated by somebody else. So that's going to really take up, and it's only a corporal that's coming on last. So there's only an MMG and a corporal. However, on the table we've got the remnants of Voller's bombers, which is just him and one other man. And we've also got this smashed up section here of only 5 men left with the corporal in it, and same again here. Another 4-man section, and then a 2-man section over there. So what have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Basically 11 Germans are actually on the table at the moment, not including big men, against 10 British who have taken no hits whatsoever and are, you know, basically fighting fit and ready to go. They could probably just get into position over there, shoot these to pieces, kill them off, and then, you know, I think defensive wise the Germans are probably would just quit at this point. I think they've fought their way down to the barricade and almost to the bridge, but I would argue that they probably that's their stop line there. They've been hit. If you don't agree with me, tell me why in the comments. The thing with Through the Mud and Blood is there is no ticking clock on it, so there's no force morale. But I think I would be fairly confident by this point that most the German force morale will be in tatters. I know the British will probably be pretty low as well, but it's difficult to tell. We could probably work it out potentially how many points each would have lost at this point. But we've got 2 German wounded big men. We do have a couple of dead British big men, including Guy himself. But I still think that the British, it's on their side at this point, just to hold the position and just to shoot the Germans as they come in, and then, you know, once the arrival of the 2 other sections, that's going to you know, triple their strength basically. So I think it's over. I think the Germans have done their best to get as far as they've done. But any further than this would just result in more casualties. I mean, they've taken a hell of a lot over here. You can see these are the German casualties over here. So how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 kills. Let's have a look, see how many British have lost. These are the British casualties. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So yeah, the Germans have lost 3 more men. It's relatively equal, but I think from a scenario point of view, I think they've had a bloody nose doing what they're supposed to do. All right, if you've enjoyed that, let me know in the comments. It's a great game. It's Through the Mud and the Blood. I am going to do a review, as I said. Whether it comes out before this video or afterwards, I'm not sure. But check that out, and I'll talk more about the game. And I think a few things that could add to it just to improve it in general. I mean, it's great anyway, but it just needs a couple of bits and pieces here and there. Alright, I will wrap up and say, if you're watching this, like half of you are who aren't subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. It does help the channel, and I shall see you in the next Storm of Steel video, which might be, you never know, another Through the Mud and the Blood.